You're listening to a punk movie review right here on the Prairie Punk Press Network.
Let me ask you a question, kid. Did you see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
Yeah. That's the one where the corpses start eating the people, right? Sure. What about it?
Did you know that movie was based on a true case?
Ah, come on, you're shitting me, right?
I ain't never been more serious in my life.
That's not possible. I mean, they showed zombies taking over the world.
Well, they changed it all around. What really happened was, back in 1969 in Pittsburgh at the VA hospital, there was a chemical spill, and all that stuff kind of leaked down into the morgue, and it made all the dead bodies kind of jump around as though it was alive.
What chemical?
2,4,5-trioxin, it's called. It was to kind of spray on marijuana or something, and the Darrow Chemical Company was trying to develop it for the Army. And they told the guy who made the movie that if he told the true story, they'd just sue his ass off. So he changed all the facts around.
So what really happened?
Well, they closed it all down, see? And the Army shipped all that contaminated dirt and all those dead bodies out. And they kept it a secret.
So how come you know about it?
What typical Army fuck-up? The transportation department got the orders crossed. And they shipped those bodies here.
Hi everyone, you're listening to Punk Movie Review. We are now on episode 5 of Punk Movie Review. Right now, for this episode, we are doing our Halloween special episode, Return of the Living Dead, which is a movie from 1985 directed by Dan O'Bannon, who is actually more famous as a writer than a movie director, and he wrote Total Recall and Alien, the first Alien movie. And he also did the computer graphics on Star Wars, 1977 Star Wars. My name is Neckbone.
Hi, I'm Jerbear, and I just got a French press, and now my coffee tastes better. Happy Halloween!
That's awesome. Yeah. Coffee is the most Halloween of all drinks, but I'm drinking tea, so.
You're always drinking tea.
Earl Grey hot. Well, room temperature now.
Yeah.
All right, so Return of the Living Dead is actually a expanded film franchise. We just watched the first one because it's the one that I had seen. I saw it. I don't think it was the first time I saw it, but it's the first time I remember seeing it. I saw it at the Rainbow House a long time ago. I want to say it was 2003, 2004. So this is the first time I've rewatched it since then. There are 5 movies in total in this film series. This is the only one directed by Dan O'Bannon, who created the franchise and directed this movie as well. There's also Return of the Living Dead Part 2, using the Roman numeral 2. Return of the Living Dead 3, using just the numeral 3 and no part there. So they, I guess, couldn't stay consistent with the naming convention. Not a problem. Then there's Return of the Living Dead, Necropolis, and Return of the Living Dead, Rave in the Grave. Both of those came out in 2005. So when 2 movies come out in the same year, you know that's high quality. Return of the Living Dead had a budget of around $3.5 million. It made over $14 million at the box office globally. But there's diminishing returns because Return of the Living Dead Part 2 only made a little over $9 million with a budget of $6 million. And Return of the Living Dead 3 had a budget of $2 million and made $54,207.
Damn.
So, yeah, it's fucking rough, man.
Yeah, right?
So the synopsis for The Return of the Living Dead is, when Foreman Frank, played by James Karen, shows new employee Freddie, Tom Matthews, a secret military experiment in a supply warehouse, the 2 klutzes accidentally release a gas that reanimates corpses into flesh-eating zombies. As the epidemic spreads throughout Louisville, Kentucky, and the creatures satisfy their hunger in gory and outlandish ways. Frank and Freddy fight to survive with the help of their boss and a mysterious mortician. Sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
I also want to mention that
is the mortician really that mysterious, though?
he's not very mysterious now.
He didn't strike me as mysterious. He just seems like a mortician, just like a regular run-of-the-mill mortician that happens to carry a sidearm. I don't know.
Right, he carries a sidearm. I mean, he's like half the people I knew in Kansas.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just like, it's not that far off from Kansas, just
Culture-wise.
in terms of culturally. Yeah. I also want to mention that we watched this once again on Tubi, who should be paying us right now. We've watched so many fucking movies on Tubi. So, when was the first time you saw this movie?
I am pretty sure that I saw it in middle school on Up All Night. But that's
USA Up All Night?
Yes, USA Up All Night.
Yeah, nice.
But I don't know that for sure. I know I saw it around that time, but I don't remember much of it then. The time it really had an impact on me when I had a really good time watching it was at Justin's house in 97, probably. We were doing, I mean, we had movie nights over there pretty often, and that was one of the ones we watched, and it was really fun. There was like, I don't know, a handful of us there, and we were partying and watching the movie, and it was great. And I hadn't really seen it since then. I think my wife and I tried to watch it a couple years ago, but I wound up not paying much attention to it. I was distracted or whatever. So yeah, but I thought it would be good to watch for Halloween since there are punk rockers in it. I remember that, and I think back in the day I thought that this movie was part of the Night of the Living Dead franchise for some reason. Well, it cribs from it, you know. I mean, it says, you know, towards the beginning that they found bodies, like the army was shipping bodies from that event somewhere else, and they got stuck in Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah,
this film sets itself in the real world version. So, you know, according to the film, the events of Night of the Living Dead happened, but they made a movie about it so that they could keep people from being suspicious.
Plausible deniability.
Right. So people could just blame it on the movie and be like, no, that was just a movie. The one kind of goof that happened was in Return of the Living Dead. They said the events happened in 1969. And then they made the movie after that, but Night of the Living Dead came out in 1968. So I guess they also time traveled a little too. Not a big deal because that is not too far-fetched for a movie where corpses walk around, including some of the best special effects I've ever seen in my entire life. That Tar Man, phenomenal.
I love the Tar Man.
So let's see. This movie stars, there are some actors in here that are like, you know, legitimate actors who've been in stuff and you would recognize them from other stuff. Like the guy who plays Bert Wilson is played by Clu Gulager, and he's been an actor or had been an actor for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. His
filmography starts in 1964.
Yeah.
And of course, James Karen, and Don Caffa, for anybody who was a big Weekend at Bernie's fan. He played the
gangster
crematorium.
Oh, sorry,
guy.
Yeah,
and he was the bumbling hitman in Weekend at Bernie's. So
yeah, he's been in other stuff too. He I don't remember what all he's from, but he's also my favorite character.
Yeah, he's awesome. But yeah, if you want to look him up on IMDb or Wikipedia, he's on there. You know, the people who play the punks, I think it's interesting. I'm looking at some of the cast for Return of the Living Dead 2, and some of the same actors are in the second one, but playing different characters.
Nice. Is Brian Peck part of that? And are you familiar with Brian Peck?
Oh, Scuzz?
Yeah.
Brian Peck, yes. So Brian Peck in the second movie plays a whole string of zombies, one called Puss Face Zombie, one called Thriller Zombie, one called Jaw Zombie, one called Eye Pop Zombie, and one called Zombie on the Car Roof.
Cool. He was also the voice of the torso zombie in this movie. The lady.
Oh, no
they
shit.
tied to the table.
Oh, cool.
He is also a convicted child molester.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to get excited about him, but
yeah,
there are no heroes, kids.
He sexually abused some kids when he was working at Disney, and then went to prison for I want to say like 18 months or something, which is not long enough for that crime, even though I'm mostly an abolitionist. And then he went to Nickelodeon, where he abused another child.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Why the fuck would Nickelodeon hire him?
It sounds to me like they didn't do their due diligence for background checks, would be my guess.
Well, fuck that guy. We'll come back to that. We'll circle back to that. That's a big topic. But it apparently was announced in July of 2023 that they are planning on rebooting the franchise, which just makes me ask the question, why?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, the answer is because Hollywood is so risk averse to new ideas that they are allowing rehashing of old shit instead of allowing people to make something new and interesting, because they're concerned that it won't make any money. That's my opinion.
I agree. I am as you know, I think a lot of people are just really, really hungry for new IP.
Yeah.
Like new give us, and even in the IP that we love, give us new stories. I mean, you know, we've talked about Rogue One and stuff in Star Wars, and how that was like, and
Andor
and stuff. And how that's so cool because it's within the Star Wars universe, but it's a whole new set of fucking people.
Yeah, I don't ever want to see another Skywalker story. I don't.
No, we're done with the Skywalkers.
I don't care about Obi-Wan. I don't care about Yoda. I don't care about any of that shit anymore. Those stories have been run into the fucking ground, and
we saw that. We saw that, and when I want to watch it, I can just watch all the stuff that exists already.
Yeah.
And same with Star Trek. Star Trek is so afraid of having something new that everything has to be about the Enterprise and bringing back the old crew every single friggin' time. And as much as I love Patrick Stewart and I love the cast of TNG, I didn't care for Picard because of that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, why don't we just have an entirely new ship, an entirely new crew?
Yeah.
You can set in whatever fucking time period of the Federation you want to. It doesn't matter because it's all new stuff. You can put it in the same era as TNG, or you can put it in the same era as 100 years after
ship.
TNG.
You don't have to tell an Enterprise story. There's been plenty of Enterprise stories.
Sure. Make up a new ship, a brand new ship that a name no one's ever used before. Who gives a shit? Just make it new.
USS Neckbone.
I think people are hungry for that.
They're hungry for USS Neckbone.
Right. I petition for when Star Trek makes a new show with an all new crew. I want it to be the USS Neckbone.
Yeah. So that sucks. I didn't know about that. I'm not excited for that.
Yeah. I'm also not excited for that. There is, however, a documentary film made about the making of The Return of the Living Dead.
Nice.
Which I would be interested in watching.
I would be interested in watching that too. I also want to see the sequels, even if they're terrible.
I'm sure they are god awful. I will watch every single one of them. Yeah, and the documentary came out in 2012. I do want to watch it. I'm going to look for it. And one of the pieces of trivia about this movie too, I don't know if you read this, that this is the first time in a zombie movie where zombies have a hunger for brains specifically.
This is where that started. You know. Yeah. Also, the first talking zombies, the first running zombies, and the first smart-ish zombies.
Yeah. Zombies that they have entire conversations with.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was his idea, and George Romero is often credited with it. He's like, nah, they just ate flesh. Mine wasn't brains.
And this was the first time that we had, I wouldn't call them fast zombies, but regularly paced zombies.
Yeah, well, they ran.
They ran in like
shuffle.
a standard. Right, they didn't shuffle. They ran in like, the same way that a normal human could run.
Yeah.
So they weren't like super fast, like 28 Days Later,
Right.
where they're just like extra fast. But like,
that movie pissed me off when I first saw it because I was like, these fucking zombies. But, thinking back on it, they weren't really zombies. They had a virus that made them rage out.
Right.
So it's different.
Right.
But
they were infected. Right. They were technically alive.
Right. At the end, when Frank is trying to get into the ceiling where Tina is, there's a sample of that in a punk rock song.
Oh, really?
I don't remember who. I want to say it's Destroy, but that also seems kind of wrong. So, Johnny, you're going to have to help us out on that and fill my gap.
This, I guess, we can go right into the soundtrack. And we're going to get to the ratings later. And for anybody who hasn't realized this yet, there are going to be spoilers in this.
For a 40-year-old movie?
40-year-old movie, yeah.
No, we can't do that.
If you haven't gotten around to seeing it yet, you might want to stop here before we get into spoilers.
There's also lots of twists and turns and surprises. So,
lots of surprises and lots of things that I would need to like talk to. I realize that this is a movie about walking corpses, but there's still some things where I'm like, I want to talk to a scientist about.
Where's that skeleton's vocal cords?
But the soundtrack to Return of the Living Dead has bands like the Cramps on it. TSOL is on it apparently. I don't remember hearing their song, but The Damned, the Flesh Eaters. I'm trying to remember the song. We'll Make Love Till We Die.
Was that TSOL? I don't know.
No, that was the song that was like super 80s sounding.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That like did not sound like a punk
The
song.
not punk song.
Yeah, that they're like dancing to in the graveyard.
The new wave song.
Right. That was another thing too. I think I've actually put that on my notes of like when they start dancing in the graveyard to that "We'll Make Love Till We Die" song. I think I wrote, "Is this punk?" Question mark. Just like, wait a minute, it's supposed to be like punk rockers, and what the fuck is this trash they're playing?
Well, to be fair, that was like the mod guy who played that. That was his shitty.
Okay,
jukebox.
fair enough.
Or not jukebox, but ghetto blaster
on the boombox.
Yeah, boombox. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's pretty pedestrian punk rock. It could have been more punk rock.
That's, I think, one of my biggest complaints of the movie is there wasn't really a lot of punk music in it at all, and the main song was like a new wave song. It's by SSQ. It's called Tonight Tonight parentheses We'll Make Love Until We Die.
Who is SSQ?
No idea. Never heard of him.
Just a small thing. I don't know why it struck me, but like the gnarliest looking punk rocker Suicide, who had the big chain from his ear to his nose or whatever. With the famous line that this isn't a costume, this is a lifestyle. When he was talking about that, I just thought it was like just like the irony of like appearances of punk rockers while also being like, pretty fairly moral and ethical. And he's like pushed her away because she was trying to fuck him in a cemetery. He's like, have some respect for the dead. Like,
yeah, right.
I don't know I don't know why they did that, but it just struck me as something like, yeah, I could see some punk rockers actually doing that. And then I could see a lot of others just like being totally okay with it.
Which kind of like brings me to her. Wow, what was her character's name
Trash.
again? Oh, Trash, right. She was an interesting character. I feel like, and we'd have to ask director Dan O'Bannon, who was unfortunately deceased, so we can't ask him. But I feel like her character's motivation was to get naked and be naked.
When she started her little dance, I think it was Scuzz was like, turn the lights on, Trash is getting naked again. So it seems to be something that she does often. And, you know, I know people like that back in the day. It was mostly dudes. But, you know,
it's true.
I've also heard
where they'd strip
stories
down
of
to their tidy whities.
Some girls back in the day who would also enjoy taking their clothes off.
I love the conversation she's having about dying with one of the other characters. And she says, "What's the most brutal way you can think of about dying?" or something like that. I forget the exact wording, but she says, I think the worst way to die is to be surrounded by a bunch of men who are just clawing at you.
Do you ever fantasize about being killed?
Never.
Do you ever wonder about all the different ways of dying? Violently? And wonder, what would be the most horrible way to die?
Try not to think about dying too much.
Well, for me, the worst way would be for a bunch of old men to get around me and start biting and eating me alive.
I see.
First, they would tear off my clothes.
Let's get some light over here. Crash is taking off her clothes again.
To eat you. I think she said eating her flesh.
Which makes me think, my first thought was has she had some sexual trauma? That was my first thought.
Yeah. From 2024 eyes.
She said specifically
surrounded
by old men
ripping at her flesh or something like that. Which, was probably just an attempt at foreshadowing, but through a 2024 lens, it's you had some sexual trauma.
I'm there's some sexual trauma there. And then I was also this is 100% how she's going to die.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. It's a big Chekhov's gun right there. It's a Chekhov's bazooka. But I also at the very beginning of the movie how it had this is based on true events.
I wonder what true events.
I know. This is a true story. Start looking up news in Louisville from 1985.
I mean, that's I assume that they took that from Texas Chainsaw Massacre because it says that too. Which, I mean, to an extent, it kind of was. I mean, Leatherface was based loosely on Ed Gein, but.
Oh yeah.
But
wasn't
being based off of a person in history does not a true story make.
No, but I think didn't they have that same title card at the beginning of Night of the Living Dead?
Maybe I don't remember.
I think that it's been a long time since I've seen it.
I think we watched it last year, but I don't remember last Halloween. I don't remember for sure.
When they're at the morgue warehouse or what would you call that place that he works?
I don't know. Corpse warehouse for scientific study?
Sure.
I don't know.
The punk guy who works at the body warehouse and his mentor or trainer guy, they go and the guy who's training him tells him the story about the Night of the Living Dead. It's this really happened, and the army left the bodies here because they accidentally got shipped here.
No, the army didn't leave them there. The army is looking for them. They wound up at their warehouse,
right?
But the army is just looking for them.
Right, that's right. And they show that Colonel,
being really mean to his wife,
being a dick to his wife, and he lives in
San Diego.
Dude, 4-star generals don't live in houses that nice, and the guy's a fucking colonel. Look, I'm not saying that colonel's not a high rank. But it's not as high as people think it is. Colonels are a fucking dime a dozen, my friend. And that house is a multi-million-dollar mansion.
Well, maybe he gets, extra pay for being a part of the super secret zombie body recovery team.
Yeah, but just we'll just stick him in this mansion and have him wait for the phone call
in San Diego.
Maybe this is maybe that's like a punishment assignment.
You have to live in San Diego. To make up for it, here's this huge house. We know it's in San Diego, so
and you have to be an absolute ass to your wife for just no fucking reason.
I had lamb chops for lunch.
There's like, what are the odds that
Right.
somebody would serve you lamb chops 2 times in a day?
I made your
How many
favorite
times have you had
lamb
lamb chops in the
chops.
last fucking year?
I haven't had lamb chops since my 10-year wedding anniversary.
I don't think I've had lamb chops in probably a decade.
Yeah, I mean-
let alone twice in a single
Right.
day.
I made your favorite lamb chops. I had that for lunch.
Where's he eating lunch? Is it just prepared
On the
by
base.
on the base? Some poor bumbling fucking like first sergeant has to like prepare it for him.
Yeah.
And then we don't see that guy again till the end.
Right, yeah.
He is in the second movie, which makes
Oh,
me want to watch
okay.
it too, because I think he plays a more prominent role.
Okay, good.
And I love that. So he's getting the punk kid is getting a tour of this warehouse with all the bodies in it that he's working at. I love the fake skeletons that are clearly from like a spirit
Right,
Halloween.
Yeah, the weird joke about them being from India and all having good teeth. I don't
Yeah.
get that reference. Like, is that a reference to something? I don't understand the joke.
I thought
I mean, I think that
I
he
thought it
was
was-
just giving him shit. Like, he was just fucking with him.
Thanks.
You're going to be fine in the warehouse
Frank?
business.
Where do you
Good.
get all these skeletons from?
Oh, they come from India. Oh,
India?
International treaty. All skeletons come from India.
No kidding, how come?
How the hell do I know how come? The important question is, where do they get all the skeletons with perfect teeth? I'm going to ask you a serious question. How many people you know die with a beautiful, perfect set of choppers in their puss, huh?
Nobody I can think of.
Yeah. No, I think that there's a skeleton farm over in India. Jesus. Come on, kid.
But why?
yeah.
Why India, though?
Yeah, I think he
Is it just
I think he
random?
was just a weirdo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just a weirdo who just like we've all worked with people like
Yeah.
that before who like when we're new at a job and they're just like, "Hey there, kid, let me," and they're just like that guy.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Okay, I don't fucking care." I know you think you're fucking with me, but I think you think that I care more about this job than I actually
Right,
do.
yeah.
But it felt like it was going to go in a weird kind of racist direction there for a minute.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't.
Like I was
Really?
like, no,
That's fine.
yeah, it was fine. It was fine. It's just like it's right
Yeah.
there teetering on the edge.
It could go
What's
south,
it gonna do
but
now?
it didn't.
Right, which is well done for the
Yeah,
80s.
good job, 80s.
You usually default to the racist side, so
Yeah.
thanks for not for once. The punk kid and the guy who's training him are going on the tour of this warehouse. He shows them the full body they have in cold storage, the corpse, and then he shows them the basement where they have the army zombies in barrels. And they said that the whole thing started because of an army experiment that went wrong. They were testing out a new weapon to weaponize corpses, basically, which kind of tracks for the U.S. Army. So I was like, when he said that, I was like, fuck, that tracks. Actually, and this movie got a little bit more believable. But they tap on. Well, he says, "Is there any chance that it might leak?" And he says, "No, this is strong. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers," and starts tapping on it, and then it bursts open immediately.
Yes, it was brilliant.
Hey, these things don't leak, do they?
Leak? Hell no. These things were made by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah. Gas sprays them all like right in the face. The body that's in there liquefies on contact with the air and turns into what becomes the Tar Man later. So he is credited as Tar Man.
Okay, good.
We'll go with
Yeah.
that.
I thought Tar Zombie was good, but Tar Man, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
He's that's my favorite zombie in the movie.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Yeah.
He's got the best voice. It's very. I mean, it's obviously overdubbed and very effect laden, but it's great. It sounds so good.
Yeah, I think he was my favorite zombie in there too. He was just a great design. Yeah.
Really
I love the
gross,
zombies
wet
can talk.
zombie. Some of the other like the extra, they're day workers or whatever they're called now. Zombies looked pretty bad.
Day players.
Yeah. Some of the day
Yeah.
player zombies looked pretty bad. Like they just looked
Yeah.
muddy. I mean, to be fair, they
Right,
just
right.
crawled out of the grave, but but they didn't look
That's true.
like the ones that ate the paramedics.
Yeah.
That was some half-ass costuming. Do better.
Right. Well, some of them they barely even bothered putting mud on it. Some of them were just like, oh, I could have just walked by this person on the street and not noticed. Like they're just people, and you're like, oh, I guess that was a zombie.
Yeah.
So they go upstairs and they call their boss and tell them that the barrel busted open. And honestly, I think I don't know. So spoiler alert, they end up dying from inhaling all that gas eventually.
It takes them a while. I mean, it takes almost the whole movie.
Right. I think, I mean, and that entire movie only takes place within a few hours from top to bottom.
Yeah.
It's like, it starts at sunset and it's done by sunrise.
Yeah.
So it's, from like 9 p.m. to like 6 a.m. basically. I think, honestly, I think that they died immediately. I think they were already dead the whole time. And it just took time for everything to...
Could be.
Yeah, because it takes hours for rigor mortis to set in.
Yeah. Well, and it didn't
and they
set
were already in
until,
rigor mortis. Yeah.
Until they, right before they moved him into the sanctuary.
Yeah. So they would have already been dead for hours when rigor mortis set in. So I think when they got up from the basement, I think they were already dead and just didn't know it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it also, your body will retain that heat for a little while too. If they were that cold when the paramedics got there, it means they were already dead for a while.
Right. Yeah. So that's my hypothesis. I don't know if it's true. We can't ask Dan O'Bannon
because he's dead.
Do
you think he's a zombie?
He might be. I don't think he would want to be. I don't know. Maybe he would. If he could just be like one of the regular ones who just looks like some guy walking around. Or if he was
Tarman.
Maybe.
If I were a zombie,
I don't think I'd want to be Tarman.
I'd want to be Tarman.
Would you? I wouldn't want to be that wet all the time.
It's the only way I'd want to be.
Oh, okay.
I would want to be.
You just want to basically look like a wet puppet constantly.
Yeah. Just slipping and sliding around all the time, trying to eat some brains. Sounds great.
Sure. Yeah. I also love that the zombie, the woman zombie that they grab from outside, they start questioning her, and she can answer. She knows things that you're like, how would she even have this information? Did she get like a zombie handbook when she died? Because she was just like, they're like, why do you eat brains? And she was like, yeah, I mean, I'm in pain, so it makes me feel better. Yeah. I was like, well, why brains?
I thought it was a nice touch.
How would you know that?
I thought it was a nice touch on her that they had spinal fluid coming out of her spine, even though she's very desiccated and not fresh.
It has been dead for decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, there's still some spinal fluid in there. It was a nice touch.
It's been waiting.
It was a good touch.
Yeah.
I liked it. It's the little things.
I liked the zombie design of a lot of the zombies that were actually the ones that they actually bothered with, I should say, was really, really well done. And even when two of our main characters, as they start to become room temperature and start to set into rigor mortis, like the makeup they did on them was really great.
Yeah. I thought so too. Yeah. And it was also for as cheesy as it is, it was well acted. Yeah.
It was. Yes.
I mean, you expect a certain amount of cheese and a certain amount of overacting, and it did it in just the right amounts, I think.
The younger people at the time who played the punks, even though I got the impression they didn't have a lot of acting experience, even they did a good job in their roles. And of course, the three older guys who were seasoned actors, I mean, they had already been in real movies at that point. And they gave the same performance in this cheesy 80s zombie movie that they would have given in anything else they'd been in.
For sure.
And I appreciated that.
Yeah.
So it's like they're not phoning it in. They're not rolling their eyes as they're saying their lines. They are playing it straight. And I think it was great because of that.
Yeah. Well, and I think they were having fun, and that comes across as well.
And I'd like to see that. That's one of the reasons I want to see the documentary. Is it did look like it would be a fun movie to work on.
Agreed.
And that graveyard, I don't know if you thought of this. That graveyard that they're in is just straight out of Buffy. I mean, it looks like it. I mean, did you get that kind of vibe from it? I almost feel like maybe Joss Whedon saw this movie and was like, "That's the style of graveyard I need for Buffy."
Yeah, I mean, it looked like there were a couple mausoleums and shit.
Of course, it makes more sense for all that stuff to be in Kentucky than it does for it to be in Southern California.
Right, I'm sure it was shot.
That's
on
beside
a set.
the point. Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially with the budget.
Oh yeah, I did make a note too of, and I'm not saying that I never went to a cemetery when I was a young punk rocker, but like them going into the cemetery and doing cemetery stuff almost seemed like I'm like, wait, are they kind of like half goth too? Like they're like doing like goth shit.
Hey, when Anne Marie was visiting us in Kansas City, we went to a cemetery up there and hung out. It was really big.
Did I go?
Yeah, you were there.
Shit, I don't remember. Oh yeah, did you notice too? Was one of those zombies, one of the zombies who ate the cop? Was he in a fucking Confederate uniform?
Maybe.
There was a guy who was in like, it looked like a fake Confederate uniform, but it was definitely like he was in a uniform, but it's not a uniform that has existed recently. And it was gray.
Yeah.
So I thought, I was like, is that supposed to be like a fake Confederate uniform? And if it is, how does he still have skin on him?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if you know this, but the Civil War happened, 150 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, back then it would have been 120 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I didn't notice that, but I did notice another Easter egg. Did you happen to see the eye chart at the body warehouse? It said Bert is not dead. Something about driving a bus or something like that. Yeah. Yeah,
I noticed it the last few seconds it was on screen, so I didn't have time to decipher it. But yeah, I was like, oh, that probably said something.
And it looked like it was just written in Sharpie on like some white construction paper and taped to the wall.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Also, did you notice that Wichita was mentioned in the movie?
No, I didn't catch that.
Yeah. I don't remember what the context of the scene was, and I wish I would have typed out more. But yeah, it was near the end, and they mentioned maybe because of McConnell Air Force Base.
Could be.
They said something about it was the relay station, which when they call in the nuke, it was done at the Wichita relay station.
Okay, that tracks. That makes sense.
Which I assume would have been at McConnell.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. When Freddy is trying to break into the embalming room to attack, what's her name? Tina, right. Yeah, when Freddy is trying to attack Tina, when he's trying to break into the embalming room, you can clearly see that even though he's struggling to break through the door, it is very clearly unlocked.
Nice.
So that struck me as pretty funny too. Yeah, I was going to say, I like that zombies can problem solve in this.
Yeah, when he hooked the chain up to that door. Yeah, that was good. Tarman.
And I think I said this to you after I watched the day after I watched the movie. Is this movie was both better and worse than I remember it being?
Yeah,
simultaneously. I think I just noticed more of the little things, and I like some of the just the odd things that they do, like when they spill. I think Freddy spills something, and the guy who's training him cleans it up, and he grabs an entire roll of paper towels. And uses the whole, instead of tearing a paper towel off, he uses the entire roll and then just throws it in the trash. I was like, what an odd choice. Like, that was a choice that was made by somebody. Whether that's the director or the actor, I'm not sure.
Right. Wonder how much was ad-libbed and how much was scripted out.
I bet a lot of it was ad-libbed. Especially like the punks scenes and stuff where they're just like, hang out and be punk.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'll start with positives. Love like I said before, of the zombies who were designed, I love the zombie design. This is, I mean, to me, this is kind of what sets off the like iconic zombie designs that we see in, things in the future. Like, I mean, The Walking Dead, like a lot of their zombie designs, you can tell that like they pulled some of them straight out of this movie. It looked like, obviously doing it with more up to date like makeup and CG and stuff. But I mean, I remember seeing stuff like seeing the zombie designs in this movie and then thinking like, oh, I've seen those in other zombie things with just better, like more up to date graphics. But they clearly got their ideas from this. So yeah, the zombie design. Another positive for me was the acting. Like I said, every actor acted as if this wasn't a cheesy comedy 80s zombie movie. They brought it, and even the character, the two guys who got hit by the gas. Who was the trainer guy's name?
Was that Frank and Freddie?
I think it was Frank. Yeah, Frank and Freddie. Okay. So even Frank, the actor who played Frank, that scene where he understands that he's dead and that there's no coming back, and he puts himself in the oven to incinerate himself so that he doesn't end up killing his wife.
Right.
That was a heartbreaking scene.
Yeah.
And he played it for real.
Yeah, he took
his ring off and played it straight, crawled into that oven and shut himself in there with it fully heated up to turn himself into ashes. And I was like, wow, what a powerful scene and such a cheesy ass movie.
Yeah. That was a good scene. I liked it.
Yeah, those are my two biggest positives, I think. And for my negatives, I want to say the disappointing soundtrack.
Yeah.
I saw a bunch of punk rockers on this movie cover, and I don't think that I really thought much of it. Maybe the first or second time I watched it back when I was like young, or in my 20s. Didn't really question it, and whatever, 80s movie, 80s music, whatever. But looking at it now and seeing that there's a bunch of punk rockers on the screen, and then they're listening to that new wave trash, and I'm just thinking like, fuck, dude, you had such a great opportunity to have like a real punk rock soundtrack.
Yeah.
Even using LA bands. Like you want to use the Dead Kennedys, use the Dead Kennedys, whatever. You want to use Bad Religion's prog rock album. Use that, whatever, man. Yeah, if you got to use Southern California bands because those are just the ones people know about,
right? Then
fine, but at least like make it actual punk bands.
Right.
I don't give a fuck where they're from.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just a really disappointing soundtrack for what should have been a great opportunity to have such a badass soundtrack.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, other negatives, just kind of some of the like little mistakes. I don't know. To me, that's almost kind of endearing though, like the door being unlocked when he's trying to break in.
Yeah, no, stuff like that is endearing to me. I like that stuff.
So I would say the low budget, but honestly, the low budget makes it better, I think. Because it's supposed to be cheesy. So I'm actually going to move that over to the positives category. I actually don't have a lot of negatives for this movie. And I like that, the group of punks was inclusive. Like, them acknowledging that, yes, there are black punk rockers.
Yeah.
It's a diverse crowd, even in Louisville, Kentucky. You can still have a diverse group of punk rockers. So I like that, and I like that they made the punk rockers a little more complex than just they're just bad because they're punk rockers.
For sure. So I'm not going to rehash what you said. I'll pick other more subtle positives that I saw. I completely agree with everything you said. For the punk rockers, so Trash gets naked and dances, and nobody is really creepy towards her. Nobody tries to take advantage of her or anything weird or creepy like that. The women in the movie are treated like people. Not like sex objects, which for 85, It's pretty good.
85, yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So kudos for that. Tarman's design is great. One of my favorite zombies ever. And yeah, the over the top, yet still somehow earnest acting of the cast is really great. And it's just, so fun. It's a really fun movie. And I don't have a lot of negatives either. I mean, they could have done better designs for some of the lesser zombies, but they're working with the budget, so I understand it. Yeah, it's a really good movie. It's a lot of fun.
If you just want like a fun comedy zombie movie that feels like it's from the 80s, this, I mean, I agree, it's a fun movie. It's not going to blow your mind as a film, but it's
it's not meant to. It's meant to be fun, and it is.
Yeah. Which makes me afraid to watch all the other movies in the franchise, because I feel like it's just got to go downhill from here.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because I mean, the guy who wrote the movie also wrote Total Recall and Alien. Great fucking movies. So
yeah, that also don't treat the characters like shit.
Right.
Which is, again, I mean, it shouldn't be a big deal, but it kind of is.
Yeah, the characters are, real people, and you can even see the difference between the two guys who turn to zombies. One of them is just concerned about eating brains, and the other one, who feels the hunger too,
still cares about his wife.
Cremates himself.
Yeah.
To so that he doesn't get overtaken by that hunger, and I like that it's not just the zombies, and even people who are in the process of turning have complex thoughts and feelings. Pretty good for fucking 80s zombie movie.
Right. Yeah.
So our next segment is, we usually do how would you make it better? And this segment is usually pretty easy, because I can usually think of a lot of things that I could do to make movies better, even as somebody who is not a professional filmmaker, but just ideas I would have as an armchair filmmaker. So take that with a grain of salt. But it's hard to come up with stuff I could do to make this movie better, because it is what it is. It's from the 80s. It's a zombie movie. It's a comedy zombie movie. Some of the cheesy effects and things like that are pretty endearing and actually make it what it is. I guess
better. I mean, the only thing I really am thinking of is better soundtrack.
Yep. Yeah. Same. Yeah. That would be the only thing that I could think of to make it better, is an actual punk rock soundtrack with fucking any goddamn punk bands from anywhere in the world. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Just pick a handful of punk bands out of a fucking hat and be like, boom, there's your soundtrack. It would have been better. Yeah. And I guess spoilers for the ending of the movie, Louisville gets nuked by the army.
It's only 8 blocks. They only killed 4,000 people.
That's nothing. Yeah. Acceptable losses, right?
When was the MOVE bombing in Philly? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know.
1985. Weird.
Oh, no shit. Oh, shit.
So,
I wonder if this is commentary.
If anybody doesn't know what the MOVE bombing is, the United States government bombed an entire block in Philadelphia where MOVE was located, because they didn't like how the black folks there were taking care of the people in their neighborhood. So they bombed them.
We can talk more about that on our other podcast, The Prairie Punk House Companion. We probably should. Along with many other things. Also, listen to our other podcast, The Prairie Punk House Companion, that comes out every other Saturday. Yeah, so this movie ends with the bombing of, you said 8 square blocks of Louisville, Kentucky?
Yep. Killed 4,000 people and dumped zombie ash into the atmosphere, which I'm sure will have no negative effect at all.
None.
And that's not
Yeah.
how the zombie outbreak started in this movie. It was by zombie ash getting into the air. That's not how it, that's not how it happened.
Not at all. There is a reason why there's a second one. I don't know if it picks up right after the events. It comes out a few years later, but it could still pick up, I guess, right after the events of the first one.
And I mean, I don't know if we really mentioned it. Well, you mentioned a little bit how, you know, it inspired some of the zombies from Walking Dead and stuff, but the entire zombie genre, I think it had a pretty big effect. At least the campiness and the silliness of zombie movies between Return of the Living Dead and Evil Dead. I think those two probably had the biggest effect on the campy B-movie aspect of flesh-eating zombies. Night of the Living Dead was more serious. And I think that Dawn of the Dead, is more serious as well, even though it has some cheesy bits in it. I think it is,
all those
still
movies,
more serious.
Right, social commentary, political commentary, left-wing commentary. So, sorry, right-wing chuds. That's another franchise that has a left-wing commentary that you wouldn't like if it came out today.
I don't know if conservative people who are fans of that would understand the criticism of consumer culture there, because it's not super in your face. It's just kind of like, oh, the zombies are trying to go to the mall. Weird.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know.
I think a lot of that stuff goes over their heads, which is weird too, because you can have some things that are almost completely apolitical, but, you know, they have a black person in it, or, you know, a queer person in it, and suddenly that's ultra political, and you're like, that's pretty fucking apolitical, actually. It just has a woman as the lead.
Right.
If anything, my critique of that stuff would be that it is too apolitical. Maybe it fucking shouldn't be. Because those chuds are going to complain about it no matter what, so just go nuts. So now I guess we can get to our
the rating system.
Rating scale.
Yeah.
Oh, I do want to mention really quick before we go to the rating system. The Tar Man, played by Alan Troutman, Trautman.
Okay.
He does come back as the Tar Man in Return of the Living Dead: Rave to the Grave.
Excellent.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's get to our rating system. Obviously, we have our first rating system of how punk is the movie, and we have 3 categories. Poser is the movie is the least punk it could possibly be. Punk-em a rocker means the movie is pretty punk, but it could be punker. And then upper crust is the punkest a movie could possibly be. And then our second rating system is one based on how good we think the movie is. So for the first one, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Let's do it at the same time on 3.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Punk-em a rocker. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah. Soundtrack is really what brings it down.
Yep. Agree. I like the design of some of the way the punks are dressed. It's very 80s appropriate.
Yeah. And there's a mohawk there.
There's a mohawk. They definitely look like 80s punks. And I'm glad that they were not all represented as being the exact same. They all had their own personality traits.
Yeah.
And they were kind of shown to be humans.
They weren't caricatures of like thugs or criminals. They were just kids having fun.
Right. Yeah. So that's why it gets Punk-em a Rocker, and the soundtrack is what stops it from getting upper crust. That soundtrack is garbage.
All right. So the quality scale is going to be sliced dogs.
Right. Yeah. We didn't even mention the sliced dogs.
Since it is Halloween, it is 1 through 666 not 666 sliced dogs.
Damn.
That would be 333 whole dogs, but we are going with sliced dogs.
And if you don't understand that scale, then you need to watch this movie. I'm not going to explain it to you. You got to watch it.
Yeah, you got to watch it.
Yeah, on Tubi.
So how many sliced dogs out of 666 do you give Return of the Living Dead?
Hold on, I got to calculate this. I'm going to give it 599 sliced dogs, which is about 90%. Yeah.
I am going to give it 555.5 sliced dogs.
Nice. That's pretty good still. Yeah.
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 I mean, it's a B.
Yeah.
It's a solid B.
Yeah. As far as like fun zombie movies go, this is probably one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize how much I liked it, and I don't think I liked it this much the first time I watched it. For our next movie, we're going to review SLC Punk. That stands for Salt Lake City Punk. It stars Matthew Lillard.
Which is a choice.
That's a choice.
For an 80s punk rocker from Utah.
That's right.
It is a choice to have Matthew Lillard play an 80s punk rocker from Utah.
And, you know, it's so funny, and we'll talk about this when we actually get to the podcast, but I forgot until you mentioned that it takes place in the 80s. I thought it took place in the 90s. But, like, it feels contemporary for when it came out, which was 98.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like that's, that's a good time for it to come out. And it stars Matthew Lillard, like we said. Michael Gorgian. I don't actually know him from any other movies.
Is that Heroin Bob?
Yes.
So just real quick, I'll save it for our review.
Okay. It's got a lot of people who I know in this movie. Jason Segel.
Yep. He plays the hardcore guy, or I don't know. He might be a rude boy, but he acts like a hardcore.
Right. Yeah. He's the guy who like you wouldn't notice as punk when you see him on the street, but like he's always in the pit, just beating the shit out of people.
Yeah.
And I knew people like that. I know you knew people like that.
For sure.
And it has Annabeth Gish, Jennifer Leon from Star Trek Voyager is fucking in it. Christopher McDonald, who everybody knows as Shooter McGavin. Devon Sawa. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
did he die?
No, he's still alive. He just kind of quit acting, I think. He's only 46.
Yeah, well, he's our age. He's the dude that has the bad acid trip because of because of sweating.
Yeah, right.
I question the validity of that.
And it has Summer Phoenix, who is of the the Phoenix family, River Phoenix, Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh yeah.
So it's got pretty star-studded cast, really.
Yeah.
Directed by James Merendino. I am not familiar with his work, but I'm going to do some research on him before we do that podcast.
Yeah. When it's based on a book, an autobiography by the dude who Matthew Lillard plays.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I don't know who that is. I wonder if he has any role in the movie as well.
I don't know. Yeah. I look forward to doing some research on this because I've seen this movie before when I worked at the video store. I think it's when I watched it.
We watched it when we lived together too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure we watched it. We watched it at the Central House, the Central House 1.
Right.
They used to watch it sometimes. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
I somehow at one point ended up with a VHS copy of it. I don't know whatever happened to it. But yeah, it's interesting. There was also an SLC Punk 2. It's called Punk's Dead, SLC Punk 2, which we will not be reviewing that one unless enough people request that we review it. So that's what it would take to get us to review that one. So if you really are just an SLC Punk head and you're super into it, you can request for us to review it. And if we get enough of those requests, we'll actually do it. Or if you join
Have you seen it?
Patreon. I have not seen it. No, fuck,
I
I
haven't
haven't seen it. No. I barely wanted to see the first one when it came out. Which is weird because as a couple of Wichita punks, it feels like this should be right up our alley, but it's just not.
I mean, I poke fun at it, but I think it's mostly okay. Definitely a Hollywood representation, but I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen it. Like, I think I lived in Kansas City the last time I watched it. So
okay,
that is 25 years ago.
I think the last time I saw it was when I worked at the video store, and I'm pretty sure that VHS copy that ended up in my collection was probably from said video store.
Uh-oh.
I mean, they just sell porn now anyway.
What's the statute of limitations?
I don't know. Don't come after me, Larry.
Videotapes.
Don't come after me, Larry. I'm sure you listen to this podcast in Cape Town, South Africa, where you live now. But
why wouldn't he?
Right. This random podcast of some guy who used to work for you for a few years, 20 years ago. That's Return of the Living Dead. Like I say, take these reviews with a grain of salt. We're not filmmakers, but I really did. I like this one. This is probably, of all the movies we've done, this has been my favorite one to watch and talk about. That's not hard. Two of the things we've done are documentaries, and they were both pretty much the same review. And then we did both Suburbias. We're finally breaking the mold. Yeah. So maybe we'll have more than 5 listeners for this one. Thanks for listening. Listen to this podcast.
Thanks, Mr. Power.
Thanks, Mr. Power, our one patron. And I hope that you go out and watch Return of the Living Dead as well, and maybe watch all 5 of them just in a row. Just watch them all in a row.
We should report back on them if we wind up watching them.
I think
not do episodes on it, but just either here or the regular podcast.
Sure. Yeah.
Just a little update.
Yeah, we can do a little supplemental thrown in there or something. Yeah. Yeah, everybody go to our website, www.prairiepunkpress.com. All of our links are on it. And links to other people's stuff is on there too. Yeah, go to all of our social media. We are on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We are on Threads.
Yeah, you remembered it.
I remembered. And we're sort of on X, but we don't check that one, so don't fucking X at us or tweet at us or whatever they're calling it now. Delete your X account. Delete it. Just delete it. Thanks for listening, everybody. And we will see you next time for SLC Punk. Bye.
Up the punks.
I love living in the city.
Meet Steve-O and Bob. They were the only 2 punks living in Salt Lake City.
Ooh, we come from the east.
What the hell are you?
We're from England.
England.
That's probably why we seem so weird to you, man.
Their only way to understand the world was to be totally misunderstood. And when you're living in the most conservative city in America, do you A, conform?
This rebellion thing you're going through, I understand it, not completely, but I respect it.
B, learn to cope.
I am the future. I am the future of this great nation.
Steven, I didn't sell out, son. I bought in.
Or C,
is he gonna be okay?
Oh, yeah, he'll be fine, I'm sure. Thank you, though.
None of the above.
I am Aladdin, and this is my lamp. I wished for you, and here you are.
Bob was in love.
You're like a poet, dude. I just started thinking, Salt Lake ain't that bad. I know, I mean, I know it sucks and all, but, this is like home,
Matthew Lillard, star of Scream and She's All That. And Michael Gorgon in a film about living life.
If I knew what was ahead of me, I may have stayed in bed. Life is like that.
Never have so many of Satan's followers been amassed on the earth as there are now.
What?
And getting out alive.
666. The mark will be on all of them.
Oh my God!
With attitude.
Go, go, go! I told you those boys were trouble.
What's your major gonna be?
I want to save the rainforest. Somebody's got to fight for them.
Salt Lake City Punk.
You made me break my hand completely off this cantina. But I don't care, darling, because I love you. You've got to let me eat your brain.